Are you serious? Are you serious? 5.3 in the same place at 3 a.m. So my friends, I have some friends who live up there where that earthquake in California happened. Like I said, I lived there. I lived in that area for about a year. I used to go visit all the time up there when I was a kid. Like I said, I chopped wood for free. Learned a lot of things up there from my grandfather. He was kind of more like my dad than my real dad. And taught me to drive and ride a motorcycle and all that. But anyway, so last night I was kind of perusing here because you're going to find out that a lot of the news you're looking for will be a little bit more correct than what the mainstream's trying to throw you. So, and what I usually do, and this is no how do you say, diss to anyone, because I do love the channel, but I get tired of the infomercials with it. And so I do kind of scan through and go to what I want, and usually on Thursday night, and I guess tonight about 9 o'clock, whatever time they are, Pastor Paul, they're going to do another thing with Mike from Around the World. I'll probably have to listen to it at work. But anyway, he was talking about the cosmic rays yesterday and where they were coming from. And I'm trying to watch out because backing out of here isn't easy at this time of day. But anyway, so he was basically saying on the channel last night that the cosmic rays were coming from the binary system. Okay? So this morning on the news, they have a big thing about the cosmic rays, but they don't know. Scientists are baffled. They're not baffled. They do know. They just can't tell you. The same thing with what I found on YouTube last night about this earthquake. So there were, in fact, it was on Pastor Paul's channel because he asked about it, and it comes to find out they think that there were shock waves from the volcano there. I've been to it, Mount Lassen, California, and they think there were shock waves from the volcano that created the earthquake on the lake. Now, back then, when I was a kid, Lake Almador was a really great place. I mean, that area, see, it was in the old days, like way back before I was around, that was an old logging town, a mill town, and there's a few mill towns there. And in fact, there was an earthquake, I think, recently, not too recently, maybe a year ago, in Greenville, which is outside of there. And then there have been a couple in Chester and stuff like that. So you got to ask yourself, though, these are earthquakes that are happening in an area where there's a big major volcano. I think the last time it erupted was 1914 or 1915 or something like that. So that was the last time that it had happened. And I got to go there when I was a kid, and took a tour, and it was quite an interesting place. But I haven't been really back since I got older. Well, anyway, that's what the story was. The story on YouTube was that shock waves from the volcano created the earthquakes in that area. So that's a little concerning, but you're not going to find that on regular news. And don't take it from me as 100% because maybe it isn't. But that's what I heard and saw on this YouTube last night. I don't even know what channel it really was. I just happened to see it and watched it. So for me to fish it back up, I don't know. But anyway, so they're going to have another little thing with Mike from Around the World tonight. And they're going to talk about, more of the cosmic waves and the things that are going on and this and that. But that's kind of interesting. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you guys an idea of what my friends and I had as a plan. Because it doesn't matter anymore because the whole thing is different. So the plan we had was to eventually get together and go up there because it's in the woods. There's plenty of water, good fishing, this, that, and everything else. Well, technology has kind of ruined that area. It used to be kind of a rural. When I went to school there, very small place. There were more kids than adults. We fielded 3 football teams. We had a freshman, sophomore team, a JV team. I played JV, and we had a varsity team. Now they can't even field a varsity team. So that's kind of crazy because they don't have but it's still overcrowded in the sense that a lot of people do live there, and They commute, like I said, about 22 miles over a thing called the Fredonia Pass. The Fredonia Pass is probably one of the higher passes in California, and it can get really deep in snow and make it to where you can't see the edges. You can easily drive off. People are going there and working there anyway because there's a prison there in Susanville, and then they commute it. 3 different shifts, dangerous as heck at night, unless you get yourself around a snowplow, you know what I mean? But anyway, to say that's where we had wanted to go. Well, you wouldn't go there now because it's overpopulated with Wi-Fi and everybody having 3 jobs and this and that. It's like a town. I mean, when I was little, there were like 2 local cops. Kind of like, you know, the guys on the Dukes of Hazzard, those cops, you know what I mean? Enos and what's his name? And Buford T. Justice, or not Buford T. Justice, you know, I mean the other guy. You know, that guy. So, that was kind of how that was. There were 2 to 3 cops. They work shifts. They go home, and then if something big happened at night, they get a call. Well, now they have highway patrol that kind of patrol that area because it's changed a lot. And if you go to the lakes, there was a lake that I went to and fished when I was a little kid. Me, my grandpa, my cousin. Pictures. No one else there. Not now. Everybody had that little idea to go up there. And, well, that little town is now not a place you'd want to live in. So, unless you go to the mountains, there's nowhere to really live with not many people. But anyway, it's kind of quite interesting that little video talked about this shocks from the volcano that created a little shock wave, and then boom, and the earthquake hit on the shore of Almanor. I've been on that lake. Things I would have done when I was younger, I would never do today. Like one time I had an inner tube, and I inner tubed across that lake. Got to the other side, stood there for 20 minutes, turned around and paddled back. Wouldn't do it today. If your inner tube popped, you're going to be swimming all that way. But back then, you never think about that kind of stuff. But anyway, if a big enough earthquake hit like in the center of that lake, oh man, that'd be crazy. So, I know firsthand where that is. The first warning I got, or a little alert, said it was south of Reno, and I went, or whatever, west. And I thought, Reno? Oh, okay. Then all of a sudden, another thing came up, and it said this, and I looked at the map, and I knew where it was. Yep, a long time ago, that was nothing but a little mill town. Your job probably would have been, it was like a couple stores, 1 gas station. You would probably be working on Collins Pine logging crew. Nothing else to do there. And that's all family run. So if you weren't family or friends, you weren't going to work there. Anyway, that's all different now. Back in the old days, the dump was a dump where, kind of like the Jerry Jeff Walker song, go to the county dump. We smiled when we saw someone. Well, not like that anymore. They have an opening and closing time. There's a fee and you can't salvage. Back in the old days, my grandfather salvaged a really nice chair that he made and redid. Almost like new. Now you can't do any of that. That place is different. So it's all just kind of interesting. Things have changed. But anyway, the main focus of this was the earthquake. There were 2. There was that one, and then another one about 3:15 in the morning, and somebody I knew happened to be awake and scared the hell out of them. Now, this is a 5.5 earthquake. I've been in a 7 here in 1989. This seemed like it might have been bigger because somebody that I knew said their husband was standing on the porch, and when the earthquake hit, it tossed him off it. So, a lot of people don't really know much about earthquakes, and they'll sit there and talk about how fun they are and this and that. Earthquakes aren't fun. A lot of people get hurt. Oh, it's like Earth's roller coaster. Well, it could be a lot of bad things that happen from that. So as I told those people up there, and I tell you guys, wherever you live, and if you live in Washington State, I think I have a couple of subscribers that live there. They've been warning about that Cascadia fault line for quite a while. I'm not sure I'd want to keep hanging out there. So the bit is, if you're not going to move, as I always say, food, water, supplies, enough to get you by a couple weeks. The one good thing about up there, as I told these people on the dreaded FB, they were all telling me, oh, you got to boil your water and blah, 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 blah. Well, only if you have a well or if your water's coming out of a spigot. But up there, being that that's a mountain area, there are some rivers and streams with very clean water. One of the places where I used to fish, and you got to make sure you do this. You just go look for like what they call a babbling brook, means a little, like a little bitty kind of mini waterfall going over rocks. You can bend right down in there and drink from there. I've done that many times. I've never been sick. Or you invest in a water filtration system. I have one. Or there's a better one that I thought about buying, but in some ways I don't want to blow my money for it. But in other ways I thought maybe it's a good idea to have. So I don't know yet. We'll have to see what goes on with that. But anyway, I'd be kind of leery if I lived up there because they had a 5.5, a 5.3, I think, in the morning. And there have been little ones bouncing all around there. So I don't know, So I always tell my friends and family, if you can, and I know a lot of people can't, but within a little bit of time, I would be thinking and using my thinking cap that maybe I don't want to live by a volcano, or maybe I don't want to live that close to water, like an ocean. You know what I mean? Because water levels rise, all that. See what I mean? And of course, one of my friends, he's all about him, and if it doesn't infect him, and he doesn't really care. Well, you better, because this earthquake right here could affect anybody, like a lot of people, not just up there. And remember what they were saying, all that snowfall, water, wet, what could it do? Create earthquakes. And there it is. So who knows? But that's what they said. Of course, now we're approaching my place of employment, and I'm hoping, because he said he wasn't going to be there, that the main man isn't there. He said he would be, but I don't trust him. So we'll just see when I pull in. Anyway, like I say, I wouldn't live anywhere near an ocean, a volcano, any of that. They warned a couple of years ago that Mount Hood could go. And that's supposed to be this year. Well, so far nothing's happened. We don't know. But Mike from around the world called it again. Talked about the cosmic rays, and then what happened? Big old article today about cosmic rays, but they don't know what causes it. See? They may know, but they're not going to tell you. Try to tell somebody I knew today. The news is not going to tell you that stuff. They flat out will not. They're not going to do it. They don't want to scare people, so they're not going to do it. It's better to have, like today when I'm driving around, you see these people, they're all calm and collected, and they're not really worrying about anything. Why? Because they don't know. So let's say a mouse or a rat had more intelligence, and they probably do, but say they knew that there was a cat around that door and it was going to take him out. Because they were told, well, they wouldn't go there, but they'd be afraid though because there's that cat. But if they weren't told and they were going after that cheese around that corner, they would just go after the cheese because they weren't told about it. See? Predictive programming. They can't do that here. People would lose their ever-loving minds if they realized something humongous was going to happen. So, don't tell them. Now remember, I go with Gil on what he's talking about. But I'm not the one saying it. So if something doesn't happen within the next few months, and if something doesn't happen by the middle of next year, then who knows? But I'm not the person telling you, he's saying it. But I believe him over anybody. The 2012 thing, I think that was something a little different. I think that's kind of when it came into the system itself, when it was finally in the system of the Milky Way. I think that's the year that it was seen. But they saw it with a telescope like, James Webb, but that's like far, 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 far away. And now it's on the doorstep. So you just got to hang out and see what transpires. Always be ready. Go about your day regular. Whatever happens, happens. But don't flip out if it does. Keep yourself calm, cool, collected, and things will probably work out as long as you're ready. But that's what I do. Every day, I run around like the regular old day, but I also am ready with a switch if something happens. I do need to start carrying that one walkie-talkie with me and make sure they're charged. Like I said, I've got all kinds of different radio devices. I've got a CB 40 channel handheld. I've got one, it's called a BAOFENG. You can find those on Amazon or anywhere. Should get two, because they're two-way walkie-talkies. They're scanners, and they're also ham radios. Now, their distance, my friend said that he talked to somebody from Eugene, Oregon on a roof all the way to somebody in Roseburg, and that's pretty far. That's pretty good. I caught Skip on that 40 channel when I first got it from Alabama. The guy didn't hear me because he couldn't, but I could hear him. Skip is a radio skip, and you can pick it up and hear somebody from far away. The farthest I ever talked to anybody on a CB radio in my car was Mexico. There was a guy in Mexico on a beach, and I talked to the guy. I'm pretty sure it was real. I don't think he was faking me. And so it was kind of an interesting thing. So that's another thing. You got to invest in another way, because cell phones probably aren't going to work. Cell towers aren't up. They're not going to work. Power's out. Wi-Fi don't work. Got to think of something different. So you just got to make sure that you're geared up for any consequence that happens. I got all kinds of dumb little gadgets to help me through. But anyway, as I always tell everybody, just be prepared, because you never know. And you never know, you might make it through. And here, if it's like Gil says, always got to remember though, like the book says, there's always a remnant. Always a remnant. Well, I've been going 2 minutes longer than usual, so when I pull into the parking lot, I'm going to end it. Like I said, our main man said he wasn't going to be here today, but it doesn't mean he's not going to be here. I just take it, it's a work day, he'll be here. And then you just got to go from there, because you don't know. So anyway, my friends, I'm about ready to say I'm done. Peace. I'll be seeing you. Main man ain't here. Makes for a really good day. And just stay prepared. But again, as I said, they were saying that they believe that the quakes happened from shocks from the volcano that traveled through the ground and then went down there a few hundred miles and created the earthquakes. Meaning, see, 2000 was 1915, so 23 years, and it started to rumble again. So, with all that, that's about all I got to say. Everybody have a great day, a great Mother's Day, which I have to work, and I'll be seeing you. Bye-bye.